Hello everyone. In this video we are going to very quickly put together a web page so you don't have to have any programming experience at all. We're going to start from scratch. Now what I want you to do is create a new file. So I'm just going to create it on my desktop here. Just right click and choose new and then text document. Okay, now we're going to write our code in Notepad, which I don't recommend, but I'm just going to show you that you can. So let's go ahead and just double click on this file to open it up. And here it is. And we'll get started here. So first of all, type this in. I call them angle brackets, but what it is, it's a less than sign and then a greater than sign. Now you're going to see these characters a lot in HTML. The characters that you use in a programming language are known as the syntax of the language. So you'll see a lot of these. I call them angle brackets, but it's basically a less than sign and a greater than sign. Now in between those angle brackets, type in HTML. What I have here is an HTML tag. Tags usually come in pairs, so I'm going to add another one. It's going to be slightly different. Go ahead and hit return 2 times. We want to leave an empty line there. And now this is going to be almost exactly the same thing, with one little exception, and you can see there's a / there. Now these 2 tags make up a pair and they work together, and this is called the opening tag and this is called the closing tag. Together these 2 tags make up what's known as an element, and you can think of an element as a container. So whatever goes in between the opening tag and the closing tag is contained within this HTML element here. Every HTML document starts with this element, and everything that you see in a web page goes inside of the HTML element. There's 2 elements that go into every web page. Let's add the first one here. It's called a head element. So I'm going to create an opening head tag like that. There's my opening head tag, and I'm going to hit return 2 times and then hit tab. And now here's the closing head tag. Don't forget that /. Okay, and now the head tag is contained inside of the the head element is contained inside of the HTML element. And when you do that, you want to indent things. The indentation really helps you to follow the structure of a page, and we'll talk a lot more about that as the course continues. Okay, let's add another element inside of the HTML element. So I'm going to put my cursor right here, right underneath the closing head tag, and this is going to be a body element. So here's the opening body tag, and then the closing body tag with the / there. Okay, now every HTML document has an HTML element, and then inside of it a head element and a body element. The head element contains metadata. That's information about the page. We'll get to that in just a minute. But what we want to talk about right now is the body element. The body contains everything that you see in the browser window when you open up a web page. So let's go ahead and add something to the body element so that we can see something when we open up our web page here. So I'm going to put my cursor in between the opening and closing body tags, and I'm going to hit tab 2 times. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add an H1 element. So here's the opening H1 tag, and I'm actually going to put the closing H1 tag right on the same line here. So here's the closing H1 tag like that, and then I'm going to put my cursor in between the opening and closing H1 tags, and I'm going to type in some content, and it's going to say hello world, just like that. Okay, now this is what we're going to see when we open up the web page in the browser here. And an H1 element means heading 1, and that just means that the text inside is going to appear big and bold. That's what an H1 element is for. Let's go ahead and save the changes that we made. So I'll do File, Save As, or you can do, just do File, Save. You can do Control S if you'd like, so I'll go ahead and save it. And now I'm going to close the file. So, and then now here we have our file that we've been working in. Now I don't know if you can see the file extension here, but it's .txt, and maybe you don't see the file extension at all. If you don't see the .txt at the end of that file name, then what you need to do is go to the folder that has this file in it. In my case, it is the desktop. So here I'm going to go to the desktop. Here's the file that we're working on, and then click on View here, and then you should have this checkbox checked. And once you have that checked, then you'll see the extension, and you can see the extension here is .txt. Okay, go ahead and close this window here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to change this file name and the extension. So right click on it and then choose rename down here, and you can select everything including the extension, and what we're going to call the file is hello-world.html. So we're going to change the file name and the extension. Now when I hit enter here, watch what happens. So this pop-up window is going to warn me. It's going to say, are you sure you want to change the file extension? And yes, we do here. So watch what happens when I click yes. So you can see that the icons changed from a little notepad icon to a Chrome icon. Chrome is my default browser. If you have a different browser as your default, then it might look a little bit different. So when you change a file extension, the Windows operating system knows what type of application to run the file in based on its extension. So Windows will automatically open HTML files in the default browser. So if I double click on this now, Windows is going to open it in the browser and not in Notepad. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I've got it over here in my other browser window, but here it is. And you should see Hello World. And get rid of these here. And there you have it. There is your very first web page. Now before we finish, we're going to add one more element to our page. So you can go ahead and close the browser. And I want to be able to edit this code, but if I double click on it, it's going to open it in the browser. I actually want to open it back up in Notepad so I can edit the code. So I'm going to right click on it and choose Open With here. And then now you may not see Notepad. I have it here because I've done this before, but if you don't see Notepad in your choices, then click on Choose Another App, and then you might even have to click on More Apps here to find Notepad, but you should be able to find it. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up in Notepad here. Here it is. Here's our code again. Now, like I said, the body element contains the content that we see in the browser window. We're going to add an element inside the head element. So put your cursor right there and hit tab 2 times. So remember that when you add an element inside of another element, you want it to be indented. This element's going to be a title element. So type in the opening title tag like that. And then I'm going to put the closing title tag right on the same line, and then I'll go back and put some content inside the title element here. And we'll just make it say my first page. Okay, we'll save it. So do File Save or Control S. And then I'm going to close it. And now I'm going to double click on it to open it up in the browser again. And you can see here that the title shows up here in the browser tab. Now that's not considered part of the browser window. Remember I said everything that's inside the body element shows up in the browser window. Well, here's the browser window right here, the browser window actually starts underneath this line right here, and it takes up this whole space right there. That's the browser window. So the tab is not considered part of the browser window. But anyways, the title element will show up in the browser tab. All right. I think that will do it for this first lesson. Please make sure to read the article that goes with this video because it's got a little bit of extra information that will be useful as we move through the course. All right, we'll see you in the next